Hi everyone, my name is Kate and I'm the current academic advisor for the Weber Honors College. If you'd like closed captioning, please click CC below. The most important thing you need to know is in the first 30 seconds of this video. You need to enroll in Honor 113 for the fall in order to stay in the Weber Honors College. Honor 113 is a 3-unit class. If your first choice section is full by the time you attend your new student orientation, you'll need to enroll in a different open section of Honor 113. You're welcome to stay on the waitlist for the section you prefer, but be prepared to ultimately take the section you're enrolled in, since most students who are on the waitlist for a section don't end up getting into that class. The rest of this video will show you how to enroll in your honors class and how to start planning out the rest of your major and GE classes. There's a frequently asked questions section towards the end of this video, and all the links you hear me talking about today are in the video description below. So let's jump right in and talk about what's going to happen on your orientation day. By now, you should have already started your pre-orientation modules online. These are made available to you once you register for orientation. If you're having any trouble accessing the pre-orientation modules, you'll want to email orientation@sdsu.edu. On your actual orientation day, you'll start bright and early with check-in opening at 8 a.m. Later on, you'll get to meet with an SDSU ambassador who is an upperclassman who is trained to help you get ready for orientation, and you'll meet with your assistant dean for your college, who will go over services available to your college and your major. You'll also finalize your fall schedule and make sure that you're fully registered for all of your classes. But how will you know how to register or what to take? This video will go over the remainder of that. Before your orientation day, the most important thing is to make sure that you've taken any placement exams that your major requires. The two big ones are going to be math, if you're going to take calculus, and chemistry if you're a science major. If you haven't taken the placement exam, or if you're not sure if you need it, go to the testing services website directly. I'll include a link in the video description. You can find a list of majors that need to take these exams, and if your major is not on the list, you don't need to take them. Also, make sure you've submitted your AP or IB scores and any community college transcripts you have. Now I want to give you a quick overview of what being in the Weber Honors College means. Let's fast forward 4 years from now. When you graduate, you'll be competing with thousands of other students with 4.0 GPAs and your same major for jobs in graduate schools. So what sets you apart? The honors minor focuses on interdisciplinary studies, which means we're looking at issues from various viewpoints and disciplines and seeing how they all fit together. All the classes you get to choose from have a different topic, and there's no one major that's the best fit for honors. One question we get a lot is, are honors classes harder than my regular classes? The answer is definitely not. Usually they're smaller classes, around 25 students per class, and they're discussion-based. So you're not going to have a professor who's lecturing at you for an hour and a half twice a week. Now that said, because it is a smaller class and generally participation is expected, you'll want to make sure that you keep up with all the assignments and readings for your classes and honors. Most students tell us that they love their honors classes because they count as a GPA boost for them. Most of the time too, their major classes can be more challenging than their honors classes. So definitely not comparable to AP classes, IB classes, or honors classes that you may have taken during high school. What's cool too is that you'll be mixed with different majors in the honors classes. So it's a great way to mingle with your peers and get to know other students who you might not otherwise get to know. Now, honors does not affect your major classes. So major classes might still be big and you may still have intro classes that have a couple hundred students in them. So the honors small classes are only affecting the honors minor courses. Another awesome thing is that you're required to complete an international experience and what we call a high impact practice for the honors minor. So it's another thing that also sets you apart. You'll also have the support of the honors staff to help you with things like planning for graduate school, how to apply to internships, how to figure out research opportunities, how to get involved on campus or outside of SDSU. These are all additional resources that the Weber Honors College will be providing you. Talked about the honors minor a lot, so let's break that down. The honors minor curriculum is a total of 16 units. You'll be taking 4 of those units in the fall semester. You'll be taking a 1-unit class, Honor 100, for 50 minutes one time per week from 9 to 9:50 a.m. on Wednesdays. This is the class that you'll already be enrolled in by the time you attend orientation. Honor 100 is an introduction to the honors seminar, which gives you an overview of how to be successful in honors and at SDSU over your next few years. Honor 100 will be the only honors class that will be large because every incoming first-year student will be taking the 9 a.m. section of that class. It'll automatically be on your schedule for the fall, so make sure to plan your other classes around that time. Please note, You are not permitted to drop Honor 100 from your fall schedule, since enrollment in Honor 100 is required in order to live in Zura Hall. Dropping Honor 100 will result in a default of your acceptance to the Honors College, and you will not be able to continue to live in Zura Hall. You will also need to stay enrolled in the 9 a.m. section of Honor 100. In the future, you might see a 1 p.m. section of Honor 100 listed on the MySDSU class schedule, but the 1 p.m. section is reserved for upperclassmen and transfer students only. Your other honors class for the fall semester will be a 3-unit course called Honor 113. This is the class that I mentioned at the very beginning of the video. This is a small class, about 23 seats per section, and you get to choose which of those topics you want to enroll in. I included a list of all of those course descriptions in this email. They're all at different times, different days, and have different professors. The best way to choose your class is to read through the course descriptions that I've included in this email and pick the one that you're most interested in. Let me show you how to add your Honor 113 class to your schedule using MySDSU. I've included this link in the video description below, but I want to show you how do you search for and filter for classes in MySDSU. As a reminder, you're going to get plenty of information about this during your new student orientation, but hopefully this helps a little bit to get started. So when you log on to MySDSU, you will see a tile that looks just like this, and it's going to say Manage Classes. To search for any classes, you want to make sure you first click on this Manage Classes tile. Next, you'll want to select Class Search and Enroll from the left menu and choose a term. So the term that we're searching for, of course, is going to be Fall 2024. So make sure that when you click Class Search and Enroll, you then click Fall 2024 next to it. You can either type in the name of the class. So if we're looking for Honor 113, you could type in Honor 113 and it will populate a list of courses. However, I have found that using additional ways to search is much easier and it's more concise. So I would strongly recommend that instead of just typing in the name of the class, you click on additional ways to search, which will be in small blue text just below the class search box. So when you click on additional ways to search, you're able to search for the subject. So where it says available subject, just make sure you select Honors College, and then you can type in the number. And you'll want to put in 113. Now, where it says catalog number and there's a drop down, I usually don't use that drop down box at all. I also usually am not looking by the instructor last name. I would simply change the available subject to Honors College and then type in the search box 113 and then click search. After you do that, it's going to give you the full list of courses to search through. So that's how you're able to look up Honor 113 sections at your orientation day. The next guide that I want to briefly cover with you is how do you add a class to the shopping cart in MySDSU? Again, you're going to get help with this during your orientation, but it can be helpful to see this beforehand. So again, once we're logged into MySDSU and we've already gone over how do you manage classes, how do you search for your Honor 113 classes. So we've done this, we've clicked on Manage Class, we've looked up Honor 113. The next thing you'll want to do is once you search for the Honor 113 courses, will be to select the section that you're most interested in taking. You'll just click on the section. Once you click on the section of the course, it's going to take you to this next page where it will ask you, do you want to be added to the waitlist if the class is full? As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, you're welcome to add yourself to a waitlist for your preferred section of Honor 113. So it definitely does not hurt to add yourself to the waitlist here. If you do that, you can change this to yes to add to waitlist if the class is full, and then you'll click accept. The next thing you'll want to do is add the class to the shopping cart. So you'll select add class to shopping cart right here. As a reminder, you will not be enrolling in classes before you attend your orientation. You will only be able to enroll in classes for the fall at the very end of your new student orientation day. So you're welcome to add classes to your shopping cart beforehand, but just please remember you're not officially enrolling until your new student orientation. So once you have selected the course, you've decided if you want to add yourself to the waitlist in case it's full, and you've selected add to shopping cart, you will go ahead and click this blue submit button, and then you'll be able to see it here on the left-hand side. You could click on shopping cart and it should be in there. Think of the classes in your shopping cart as a wish list. Just because they're in your shopping cart, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're guaranteed a spot in that class, But think about it like if you're online shopping, right? You're going to put things in your shopping cart, but until you officially check out and pay, they are not reserved for you. But it is a nice, concise place to have all of your classes. That way, when you attend your orientation, it's going to make that registration process all that easier. Remember, we're only planning for classes before your orientation date. The first day of orientation is July 9th, so students will start officially enrolling in classes then. It's possible that by the time you attend orientation, your first or second choice section of Honor 113 might be full. You'll want to have a few backup sections in mind just in case. You need to enroll in an open section at orientation. Yes, as I mentioned, you can waitlist another section, but you have to be actively enrolled in an open section of Honor 113. It's very unlikely that students will drop Honor 113 and the professors will not be adding extra seats, so you should plan on staying in the section you enroll in during your orientation day. The Honors College will not increase enrollment in full sections if there are seats open in other sections. While you may not get your first or second choice section, you'll still be taking an interesting class that's required for the honors minor. So earlier, I talked a little bit about making sure you have a balanced schedule every semester. Let's break that down a bit. You'll have major specific requirements. For the first 2 years, those classes are called major prep courses. Those are the lower division prerequisites to complete before you officially start taking your upper division major courses. Once you finish those up, then you'll start taking your upper division major courses, which are usually taken during your last 2 years. And then everyone, regardless of major, has general education requirements. You will have lower division GE courses that you take your first 2 years, and you'll only have a few upper division GEs that you'll take your last 2 years. So every semester, we try to have a nice balance of major, GE, and honors classes. For the fall semester, I suggest aiming for about 13 to 17 units. You can't enroll in more than 18 units until 1 week before the start of the semester, and I really don't recommend that you take that many units during your first semester anyways. Some majors will require you to take more units than others, so make sure to chat with your ambassador about that at orientation if you have any concerns. All right, let's get into the planning process. Quick note, you may have elected to have classes pre-registered for you in the fall semester. Not all majors have this opportunity, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. If that's the case though, the only class you'll need to add for yourself is Honor 113. We have something called a MyMap, or My Academic Plan, and it outlines every single major class and GE class that you need to graduate in 4 years. It is not personalized, meaning that if you came in with any AP credit, IB exams, or any community college classes that cleared up requirements for you, it's not going to show up as completed on your MyMap. It also doesn't show you where to put your honors classes or any other minor classes for that case. So that's why it's helpful to attend your new student orientation so you can talk with an ambassador or an advisor there to make sure you know what you may have already completed. I'm now going to show you how to find your specific MyMap. First, go into your browser and type in SDSU MyMap. It's going to be the first thing right here that pops up. So we'll go ahead and click on this, My Map. First, select the catalog year, 2024, and then we're going to select a major. So for this example, I'm going to use religious studies. All right, so this is what a My Map would look like. As you can see, we have our first year, so the fall semester here on the left, spring semester here on the right, second year, third year, and fourth year. So as I mentioned, it's going to include all of the major prep requirements, which will be listed out right here, and all the GE requirements that you need to be successful. Although, as I mentioned, this is not going to include any of your honors classes or where to fit them in for the first semester. So let's talk about that. First, you need to remember, as I mentioned, this is totally generic and it is not personalized to you. I would probably say 95% of students are not following MyMap 100%, but it does help as a guideline. GEs and electives can usually be moved around. Each class is categorized, so it's either GE, a major prep class, or it could maybe count for both. So for example here, you're going to see that GE written communication is listed for the fall semester. It says GE in front of the requirement, so that's how you know that it is a GE. Now we can see right here, this GE does not have a specific class listed next to it. So that means that you can take any class from the GE written communication category to fulfill that requirement. Another class you're going to see listed is your GE Arts and Humanities, specifically Humanities. And we can see that it also says major prep right next to it. So we can see that listed right here. So it's either Religious Studies 100, 101, or 103. This is how we know that this class will count for both that GE requirement for the GE Humanity and for a major requirement. However, this time, unlike GE written communication, we can also see that there's a specific class listed. And so that means you need to take one of these specific courses in order to fulfill this requirement. You can also see up here that religious study is a Bachelor of Arts degree. That means that this major has a requirement of a language. Not every major has a language requirement. So again, you'll go over this at your orientation, but the majority of Bachelor of Arts degrees do have a language requirement. If you have a language requirement, it is generally going to be listed for you to complete during your first semester. It can also overlap with a GE Foundation Humanity requirement, as we see listed right here. I want to talk briefly about the language requirement because it is required for so many majors. You may have already cleared this with any AP language, or if you took a language class for a certain amount of years in high school, it may also fulfill the language requirement, so please make sure to keep that in mind. But if you have not yet cleared your language requirement through either AP credit or taking a language for a certain amount of years in high school, you're going to want to try and start that language sequence during the fall semester for most majors. And here's where it gets a little bit complicated. The requirement for the university is that you need to finish a third level of a language. So there's two ways to go about it. Option number one is that you start a language from scratch. It could be any language. And then once you complete levels 1, 2, and 3, generally that will be 3 semesters, you'll fulfill the requirement. Or option two is that you, let's say, maybe already have some proficiency in a language and you don't want to start from the beginning. You could take a language proficiency exam to see what level you would place at and then start from that level. The benefit of doing that is because you only need to finish through the third level of a language. Let's say if you start with level 2, you're only going to need to take 2 semesters of a language rather than 3 semesters. To sign up for the language proficiency exam, please go to your browser and then type in testing.sdsu.edu. So as you see, when you pull up your MyMap, you already have a full schedule planned out for you, but you also need to take those 4 units of honors classes in the fall. We don't want you to put those 4 units on top of your already full schedule. And I don't recommend that you take 20 units in the fall. That could be a lot. So we have 2 options here. Number 1, if you're already completed with a GE requirement, maybe it was from AP credit or dual enrollment in high school, you can cross that off and then add the 4 units of honors classes in that spot. Or option number 2, you could move a GE requirement to a different semester. Please keep in mind that you cannot move your GE written communication, GE oral communication, GE critical thinking, or GE math to a different semester if it's listed for the fall. The best GEs to move would be American Institutions, GE Lifelong Learning and Self-Development, GE Arts and Humanities, or electives, unless any of those are required for your major prep and overlap with one of those GEs. We're essentially swapping out a 3-unit GE class and adding in Honor 113, which is 3 units, and then Honor 100, which is 1 unit, and will already be on your schedule. Now that I've mentioned American Institutions classes, let me show you which of these can overlap with your GE Ethnic Studies requirement. So we can see right here that these are the American Institutions requirements, and this is how they'll appear in what's called your degree evaluation. You'll learn a lot more about this during your orientation as well, but I want to show you really quickly. So the first thing to keep in mind is that there are 3 American Institutions requirements that you need to fulfill before you graduate. The first is American History, Institution, and Ideals. The second is United States Constitution, and then the third is California State and Local Government. So you have these 3 requirements for American institutions. And then right down here, you also have the GE Ethnic Studies requirements. So you are able to overlap one of the Ethnic Studies requirements with 2 of the American Institutions requirements. So that way you're able to take 2 classes to fulfill all 4 of these requirements rather than taking 4 separate classes. A good example of this would be AMIN 141. So AMIN 141, that fulfills, we can see right here, California State and Local Government. We can also see above that it fulfills American History, Institutions, and Ideals. And then if we look down here at Ethnic Studies, we can see it's also listed right here. So an example of a course that will fulfill 3 of those requirements. Another example of a course would be AFRAS 170A. We can see it listed right here under United States Constitution. We can see it listed here on American history. And then we can also see it listed down here under ethnic studies. So we can see here that there are several classes that you can choose from to fulfill your GE ethnic studies and 2 out of the 3 American institutions requirements. Okay, so now that you know how to see an overview of which classes you need to take, how do you see which classes you have credit for after passing AP exams? I've included a link to this AP chart in the email to help you figure out which classes you have credit for based on your AP scores. So let me show you really quickly how to interpret it. So we'll want to scroll down here and we're able to see the name of the examination on the left, the score that you would need to earn credit, and then the amount of units that you'd be earning based on the score that you have. And then finally, you'll be seeing what is the SDSU course equivalent for what you're earning credit for, and then if there's any specific remarks. So let's take a look at AP US History, a very popular exam. So, okay, we scroll down here, we see it's under History, United States. We can see you would need to earn a 3, a 4, or a 5 in order to get credit at SDSU. So if you earn a 3 or 4 or 5 on the AP US History exam, you'd be earning 6 units of credit at SDSU. You'd be earning credit for 2 classes, History 109 and History 110. One thing I want to keep in mind is that for the American Institutions requirements that we just took a quick look at, you cannot satisfy the California government requirement from AP credit. You are able to satisfy the American history and the US Constitution requirements through AP credit, but you are not able to satisfy the third American Institution requirement, California government, from AP credit. So just keep that in mind. But here's an example of how you could interpret this chart. Another example, let's look here at statistics. So for AP statistics, you'd need to earn a 3, a 4, or 5. You'd be earning 3 units of credit, and it would be for Stat 250. We can also see that this would satisfy the freshman math competency. So this is how you can use the chart to kind of determine what credit do you have potentially coming to SDSU and what classes are you fulfilling with your AP credit. If you scroll down a bit further, so let's go a little further down here, you can also look at International Baccalaureate credit. So if you took any IB exams, you can see again the name of the exam, the score you would need in order to earn credit at SDSU, the amount of units, the class, and then again, just like AP, if there's any important remarks or notes that you need to be aware of. So make sure that you're using this prior to your orientation just to get a feel for what classes you may already have satisfied. Another useful tool you'll want to get familiar with is the General Education Requirements section of the 2024-2025 University Catalog. Let's say you're looking on your MyMap and you see that you need to take a GE written communication class in the fall. But if it doesn't list a specific class, that means that you get to choose any class from that category. So what you'll want to do is scroll down here until all of the text turns red, and then you're able to see the different categories of general education classes. So if you're looking for written communication, we can see that is listed right here. You can go ahead and click on that, and then it's going to show you all the courses that can fulfill that specific GE requirement. So for example, if you were interested in RWS 100, Rhetoric of Written Argument, you can click on this, and then it's going to give you just a short description of the course right here, and then if there's any other important information that you'll want to know about it. Another example, let's say that you are interested in taking a GE physical science class, or your MyMap recommends taking a GE physical science class in the fall. You'll click on that GE right here, and then it's going to give you the list of courses that can fulfill the requirement. And just like with the other GE, if you click on any of these right here, it's going to give you a short description of the class and provide any other information you might need to know about it. You can go ahead and Google class schedule SDSU, and then it should be the first result right here that pops up. So we'll go ahead and click on this. And then we want to select fall 2024, so make sure you're looking in the correct term. You're going to use the search tool every semester when you plan classes. So first, go ahead and select fall 2024, and then you can use the search boxes to find classes that you want to take. So let's use Psych 101 as an example. So as I kind of explained earlier in the video, you'll want to select additional ways to search. And then let's go ahead and click our subject. So we're looking up psychology. And then you can type in the number right here, so 101. Again, just like earlier, I usually don't select anything where it says catalog number, and I rarely ever select anything for instructor last name. So you just want to look up the available subject and then type in the number you're looking for right here. And then from there, you'll go ahead and select search, and then it's going to show you 8 classes that are available. So you need to actually click into the class to see the different sections that will be offered. And then you're able to see right here, okay, here is the name of the course. If you click on course information right below it, and this will be the same for any class you look up, it's going to give you just a very short basic description of what the class is about. It'll also show you how many units the course is worth, what kind of grading basis it's on, and then any other important notes that you need to take a look at. And then you're also able to click under where it says lecture, and it's going to give you more enrollment information about the class. So if the class fulfills any specific GEs, it'll say that on this page. We can see right here that Psychology 101 is going to fulfill a GE Foundation, Social and Behavioral Science. If you click on meeting information, you can see the days and the times of the class, the classroom, and then who the instructor is. And then if you select class details, you can see the mode of instruction. So for example, this section is going to be in person on the San Diego campus. You're also able to see on the right-hand side here how many seats are still available in this class. This will change day to day once orientation begins in July, so it's really important to pay special attention to this number. At this point, you have all of the tools you need to start putting together your schedule for the fall. You can use the MyMap to see which classes are required for your major. You can use the AP or IB page in the general catalog to see which classes you might have credit for. And you can use the class schedule tool to find specific classes. Pretty exciting, right? My suggestion for you is to make a list of each required course and which sections are your top choices. For example, if you're required to take Econ 101 in the fall, take note of the top 3 sections you'd be interested in taking after looking up the available open times. That way, if your top choice section fills up before you register for classes, you'll have a quick backup ready. Or let's say you wanted to take Music 151 for your GE art class, and all of those sections are filled up by the time you get to registration. That's okay. Then you can just go back to your GE art options and pick another class that has open seats. The same thing goes for your Honor 113 class. If your first choice Honor 113 fills up, you'll want to have reviewed the Honor 113 course descriptions and have selected a couple backup sections that you'd be happy with taking. On your orientation day, it's possible that your first choice sections may be full. My pro tip is to check the number of seats 1 week in advance, and then again 1 day in advance, and then 1 hour before your orientation starts to see if those courses are still open. Students are generally registered at orientation by 6 p.m., so if you check the schedule after 6 p.m. on an orientation day, you'll have a pretty decent estimate of what will be open when you go to orientation the next day. All right, time for some FAQs. Generally, 10 minutes between classes is enough time to get from class to class with a brisk walk. You won't be able to officially change your major quite yet. However, you can pick the MyMap for your new major and use that to plan out your fall classes. However, you'll want to contact new student and parent programs by emailing orientation@sdsu.edu or by calling 619-594-1509 to let them know that you'd like to change your major. That way they can assist you in attending the correct orientation day. That's awesome. Undeclared is one of my favorite majors because you get to explore tons of different academic departments while completing your GE requirements. You can use the Undeclared MyMap to plan your classes and connect with your ambassador or an advisor at orientation if you have any questions. If you're undeclared but already know which major you want to choose, you should follow the same instructions as the question above about changing your major. Your registration time will be August 1st until you attend your orientation session. As long as you show up to your scheduled orientation day, you'll be able to register then. Go back and watch the earlier part of this video to see where I talk about how to plan for classes. It'll be much easier to just go back and rewatch that portion. You don't need to plan for anything right now. Register for classes for your first major and the GEs and honors classes that you'll need, and then in the fall, you can talk with your academic advisors about how to add a second major and how to incorporate those classes into your schedule. For all questions related to housing, please contact the housing office. Their website is housing.sdsu.edu. All right, you've done your homework. Now is the time to start working on your schedule for the fall before you attend your SDSU orientation. As a reminder, you'll have assistance during orientation when you register for classes. I really appreciate you watching this entire video. You're going to be really prepared for your orientation day, but please feel free to rewatch this video if you have to.